Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear us well. My name is NATÁLIA PINDROCHOVÁ, and I will be moderating this discussion with our dear guest, DARYL DAVIS. I hope DARYL is here because we still see just his picture, but I think he might be just... Okay, there he is. Before we start, let me first thank US Embassy in Bratislava for organizing and supporting this discussion, as well as to Socrates Institute. And another very important piece of information is that Socrates Institute has a really cool year-long study program, which you can apply now for. And there's only one condition: you need to be under 30 years old, but otherwise you can apply for this very inspiring program, which helps you actually to meet on daily basis or regular basis cool people like DARYL DAVIS. So please do not hesitate too long, because the deadline is approaching, is March 13. So I really encourage any students that are watching right now and haven't been part of this great program to apply for Socrates Institute. Also, a little note before we start that this discussion will be only in English. There is no interpretation. And if you want to submit the questions, you can, and you can do it on Facebook under the live stream. And then like 10 minutes before we stop, I will ask those questions. We have only 1 hour, so that's why I will briefly also introduce DARYL DAVIS, because we really have such a short time, so we wouldn't have time to really tell his whole life story. So I will just briefly mention that he's Afro-American musician with very unusual calling. Someone calls it a side job, someone calls it a hobby. He'll definitely tell us what it actually is, but he likes to, or he hangs out with Ku Klux Klan members and neo-Nazis and slowly motivates them to leave the movement. He has been very successful with this, and thanks to him, over 200 people left Ku Klux Klan. His parents were diplomats, so his upbringing was also a little bit unusual, because by the age of 10, he traveled all around the world and talked to people also with different backgrounds, and never really encountered racism until he moved back to US. So I think he will talk about this as well, that this has some profound impact on his life. And basically my first question for DARYL is that I have read all their interviews on the internet, and you mentioned that during this conversation with neo-Nazis, they often call you criminal. They often say that your brain is smaller than the majority of white people, and all kinds of insulting stuff. So I always wonder, like, do you ever get angry, or how do you process your emotion during these tense conversations with neo-Nazis?
Well, thank you very much, Natalia, for having me, and good evening to everybody there. It's just now afternoon where I am, right outside of Washington, D.C. Well, to answer your question, do I ever get angry? Back when I was younger, yeah, perhaps it touched some nerves. But, you know, I then realized that these people have never experienced what I have experienced. Their scope of knowledge about other people is very limited. So why should I be offended by somebody who does not know me? Sure, they make all kinds of accusations that all Black people are criminals. We all have smaller brains, et cetera, et cetera. They don't know me. So how can you be offended by a lie? You have to tell yourself that. You know, if somebody knows you and they make an allegation against you, then perhaps maybe you want to consider it because they know you, like your mother, your father, your older siblings. They know you, they raised you. But somebody who just meets me for the first time and all they see is my skin color, or all they know is my religion, and they're going to determine who I am? No. And that's what we need to teach people. Know who you are before you engage an adversary.
So that would be actually really interesting to hear if you could summarize the principles that you are standing by when you go into these tough conversations. Like, what are the basic principles that you are trying to follow?
Okay, well, what I have gathered is this. I've traveled all around the world, starting as a child, and now as a professional adult musician. I still play around the world. No matter how far I go from the United States, if it's right next door to Canada or right next door to Mexico, or all the way around, you know, to the other side of the planet, I always conclude one thing: no matter how different the people I encounter, They don't look like me. They don't speak my language. They don't worship as I do. I always conclude that we all are human beings. And as such, everybody wants these 5 basic core values in their lives. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be respected. Everybody wants to be heard. They want to know that you're listening to them. They want to be treated fairly. And they want the same things for their family as you want for your family. So if we learn to apply those 5 values whenever we find ourselves in an adversarial situation or a culture or society in which we are unfamiliar, I will guarantee you that your navigation and your navigation will be much more positive and much more smooth.
I also think that these 5 principles are a very good thing to have on your mind. But I wonder, how do you prepare for these interventions? You don't like this word, interventions. You can explain why. But how do you prepare? Because I think you don't really go into the room not knowing anything about the person. So how do you prepare for these hard talks?
Learn as much as you can. Education is the key. Learn as much as you can before meeting with your adversary. Learn their background, learn their positions. It doesn't matter, this applies to everything, not just race. In fact, you can take race off the table. There are many other controversial topics, say abortion, global warming, the war in the Middle East, nuclear weapons, all these different hot topics. Learn about your adversary's position, all right? And put yourself in their place. How would you feel if this was happening to you? And now you're standing in their shoes, and then go back to who you are and find objective reasons. But always, always listen to the other person. People want to be heard. And when you listen to them, they tend to have more respect for you, and they will allow you to say what you got to say. But there is no way you're going to convince anybody of anything unless you allow them to speak to you as well. So it has to be a two-way street. I am a firm believer that a missed opportunity for dialogue is a missed opportunity for conflict resolution. When 2 enemies are talking, they're not fighting, they're talking. Maybe they're getting loud, maybe they're arguing, but that's okay, they're talking. It's when the conversation stops that the ground becomes ready for violence. So you want to keep the conversation going.
So for people to better picture this, could you tell us example of one intervention that you did and how did you prepare for it? Maybe you can mention the case when it was high-ranking Ku Klux Klan member. I wonder
Sure.
that these might be very, very dangerous situations.
Sure. I studied up on this individual, the Klan leader. I knew that he had, barely graduated high school. I knew his beliefs. He did not believe Black people were very intelligent. They did not deserve higher jobs, etc. So I learned all this before I met with him. So then when he came into the room, automatically when he saw me, his wall went up. He's ready to attack, not physically, but mentally, because he is what is called a white supremacist, which means that he feels he is supreme and I am inferior. So I listened to him. I asked her, I said, how can you hate me? You don't even know me. All you see is this, the color of my skin. Mr. Davis, Black people are prone to crime. All you have to do is look at the prison. There are more Black people incarcerated than white people. Now, what he is saying is 100% true in this country. There are more Black people in prison than white people. The data, the statistics, they all show that. But he is not looking at the reason. Part of the reason is because the judicial system in this country is imbalanced. It will send Black people to prison and send white people home. Okay, we get bigger sentences and penalties just for the color of our skin in this country. That has been going on for a long time. Is it better? Yes, it's better. Is it perfect? No, far from perfect. But all he sees is the data. So in his mind, he computes, well, if there are more Blacks in prison, that means that there are more Black criminals. Black people only make up 12% of the United States, So anyway, he tells me that. He tells me that Black people are lazy, that we don't want to work. We always have our hand out for something for free. He tells me that Black people are born with smaller brains. And the smaller the brain, the lower the IQ. The bigger the brain, the more capacity for intelligence. And white people have big brains. And this is why Black children always score lower on the tests that they do in school to go to college. Now, what he is saying is true again, that overall, Black students do score lower than white students on these tests. But he's not considering the reason behind this. Most Black children in this country, the United States, they go to school in the inner city. Most white kids go to school in the suburbs. It is a well-known fact that the inner city schools are not as well funded. They don't have good facilities, good textbooks, high-ranking teachers. But here's the thing, white children who go to school in the inner city, they score just as low, if not lower, than some of the Black kids. The Black kids who go to school in the suburbs score just as high, if not higher, than some of the white kids. So it has nothing to do with skin color or the size of the brain. It has everything to do with the educational system in which that student is enrolled. But, I don't attack him. I just listen. And then when he finishes talking, I say, well, I hear what you're saying. I could attack him and get angry, but then he won't hear me. I want him to hear me. So I said, listen, I understand what you're saying. Yes, the data shows this. And then I explained to him the reason why. And I said, listen, my SAT scores, my scholastic aptitude test scores, they were good enough for me to go to college. Now, I know he didn't go to college. All right. I did my research, but I don't say, hey, I went to college and you didn't go to college. You couldn't get into college. Because if I did that, the wall would go up, his ears would be like this. Okay. Because I'm attacking. So I say, my scores were good enough. I went to college. I have a college degree. I don't have a criminal record. I've never been a criminal. So he's hearing me without his ears being plugged up. And when I give him these reasons, he does not change immediately. But when he goes home, like we all do, at the end of the day, we all think about what we did during the day. And he thinks, I had a 3-hour conversation with a Black man, and we didn't fight. Yeah, we disagreed, but we didn't fight and yell at each other. And what Daryl said, it makes sense. Oh, but he's Black. But what Daryl said was true. Oh, but he's Black. So they're having a cognitive dissonance. Their brain is fighting with each other inside his head because he knows what I was saying was true, but I'm Black. And he does not want to believe the truth came from a Black person. So he struggles. And over time, he must make a decision. Do I believe the truth and change my ideology, or do I continue living a lie? So I don't really call it an intervention. I call it providing information. And here's what you do. See, people can be ignorant and people can be stupid. Now, some people define ignorance and stupidity as being synonymous, same thing, not me. For me, an ignorant person is somebody who makes the wrong decision or, or a bad choice because he or she does not have the correct or proper information to make the right choice, the facts. A stupid person is somebody who has the facts and they still make the wrong decision. So, quick example. If I paint this room that I'm in right now, paint the walls, and the walls are wet, and I don't put any signs up that say wet paint, keep off the walls. Anybody coming into this room, they might go and lean against the wall, and now they got paint on themselves because they were ignorant. They did not know, they were unaware that the walls were wet. I can fix that ignorance with education. I can put up signs that say wet paint, keep off the wall. I can stand in the doorway and I tell each person coming in the room, do not touch the walls, they're wet. Come to the center of the room. So now everybody has the facts. Everybody has the proper information to make the right choice and the correct decision. But still, one person goes and leans on the wall, and now he wants to know, why is there paint on my clothes? It's because he's stupid, okay? He had the right information, but he still made the wrong choice. So fortunately, there is a cure. There is a cure for ignorance. The cure is called education. Unfortunately, there's no cure for stupidity. So I have given this man the facts, and he has checked it out, and he has found out that I'm true. And now he must decide, do I cure my ignorance, or do I remain stupid? So I don't intervene, it's his choice.
But I wonder, because this is all very rational, and usually people work on emotions, and they tend to not to trust the mainstream media, so-called mainstream media. And if you provide these rational arguments that are facts from mainstream media, how are you successful in like sort of breaking that wall of like your source of information is wrong, I'm reading alt-right websites, and these are my facts? So how do you fight that?
Because facts are facts. It has nothing to do with mainstream media. 2 + 2 = 4 right here in Washington, D.C., and it equals 4 in Bratislava. You know, you can't go to Paris, France, and 2 + 2 = 5. You know, those are the facts. So whether you get it from the alt-right media, or you get it from mainstream media, or you get it just from me, I'm always very, very transparent, and I'm always very honest, because first of all, they don't trust you. Because you're Black, because you're gay, because you're Jewish, because you're Muslim, because you're a female, you know, whatever the case may be, you're not like them, so therefore you're not trustworthy. So you must always be honest, be very transparent. And if I tell them something that I'm not sure, or it's how I feel, I always say, well, you know, this is my opinion. I always preface, you know, this is what I think, meaning it may be true, it may not be true, but it's my opinion. But if I know something for a fact, I will say, this is a fact. I want you to go check it out if you don't believe me. And they can check it out wherever they want to check it out. I don't send them to mainstream media, CNN, or wherever else. You know, let them find out for themselves. And then when they find out, they have to make that decision. Hey, you know, he's right, but he's Black. So yeah, but he's right, but he's Black. So it's a struggle. Mm-hmm. And they have to decide, because they've been going for a long time believing something different. You know, some people believe, you know, that Jews have horns, Black people have tails like a monkey, you know, whatever. But when you find out it's not true, it's like, you know, when you're told, you know, Santa Claus is not real. Well, how long do you want to go believing Santa Claus?
I think there is a fine line between ignorance and stupidity, and sometimes it goes into the hands. So sometimes really when it's just you should give up. But I wonder also about your methodology, that after this first conversation, when they have first encounter with the Black person who is, you know, friendly and listens, like how long after this first meeting you initiate another contact? Like, do you have some methodology that you follow?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, and these people are different. You know, they're individuals. Yes, they share the same ideology, but they are individuals. You know, they have personalities just like you and I. So there's no specific time, but you always want to do a follow-up call. And here is the most important thing that I want everybody to understand. Your greatest asset, your greatest ability is your ability to be credible, okay? To be honest, to be truthful, to be trustworthy, because you only have one opportunity to make a good first impression, all right? If you're lucky, maybe you'll get a second and third opportunity to make some kind of impression, but you only have one opportunity to make a good first impression. And most people will judge you based upon their first impression of you. So when I meet this person for the first time, I must be honest. I must be truthful, because if he or she catches me in a lie, then everything I say is probably a lie. because they already don't like me and they're looking for reason to reinforce their belief. So now, oh yeah, that black guy, he lied to me. You know, all black people lie. Yeah, I should have known that. Why am I even here talking to him? You know, that would be the attitude. All right. So even if I'm credible and they see me as being credible, all right, even though they don't like me because of the color of my skin, if I say, hey, listen, I appreciate the time that you gave me. I appreciate your answering my questions. I want to think about this and process this for a little bit. Maybe I'll have some follow-up questions. Is it okay if I call you? Maybe we get together in 2 weeks. Chances are, even though they don't like me, they'll probably say, yeah, okay, that's cool. You know, but if they don't like me, and I've given them more reason not to like me because I lied to them or I deceived them, and I say, hey, is it okay if we get together again in 2 weeks? Nah, we're done. You know, it's like this. You know, let's say you, Natalia, you know, some guy that you don't know, he asks you out for dinner or something, and he, you agree to go out on a date. If he does not impress you that first date, and he says, hey, can we get together again, go out again next week? You're going to be like, nah, I have something I have to do. You're going to blow him off, okay? But if he impresses you, you will go out again because you found him to be trustworthy. You find him to be credible. But if he deceives you or, you find something wrong, that first impression is very important, especially when you're dealing with people who already have a perception of you that is not real. And one's perception is one's reality.
I guess
let me show you.
Different. Every person are different. But if I would have this sort of goal in my mind, I would give chances and chances, and sort of to really motivate other people to do something like you do. Do you think people need some kind of training in conflict resolutions to do this sort of conversations like you? Or would you say, you need to stand by a couple of principles and anyone can talk to actually someone who has totally different worldview? Listen,
conflict resolution is good, but you must find a good teacher because not all of them are good. Some of them will tell you things to do and they don't work or they will get you in trouble. All right. So, you got to, know who you're dealing with. But I gave you those 5 basic principles. Everyone wants to be loved. They want to be heard. They want to be respected. They want to be treated fairly. They want the same thing for their family as you want for your family. That is just basic stuff that you can do in conflict resolution. I am not a psychologist or a sociologist. I am a rock and roll piano player. Okay. I spent 32 years playing with this man right here. That's the great Chuck Berry, the man who invented rock and roll. Okay, he's playing Johnny B. Good on the piano there. That's what I do. I'm a rock and roller. So, but if me as a musician can sit down and talk with neo-Nazis and KKK people, and next thing you know, they're leaving the organization. They're saying, I don't believe in this anymore. They're giving me their robes, their hoods, their swastika flags. Anybody can do it. But you have to learn how to keep your emotions behind you. Yes, you're going to hear a lot of insults. You're going to hear things that are not true. People are going to offend you. But how are you going to let somebody offend you when they don't know you? View it as they are limited in their knowledge, and you are going to share something with them and let them make up their own mind. Don't try to change them. People think of interventionists. I'm going to come in and I'm going to change you. I'm going to intervene in your life. I'm going to get you straight. No, you can't have that attitude because they're going to fight with you.
Yes, we talked about this before, that actually people who do these talks and conversations really need to have healthy self-esteem and healthy level of self-confidence, because then you can't get really easily insulted by someone saying you have a smaller brain, because so this is like important. I also wonder if these conversations get easier by time. If you recall your first encounters with neo-Nazis and recent ones, do you see some change? Does it get easier by the time you're doing it?
It doesn't get easier, but I collect more tools because I then see the things that I've seen before. So I know how to deal with that. This person is saying the same thing that person did, and here's how I countered that. So I have more information, but each person is an individual. Yes, they all have that common, we are supreme. We are the master race and all this kind of stuff. But, I've heard I've been doing this now for almost 40 years. So I've heard a lot of that, but so that doesn't get easier. But how you deal with them, you now have more information from previous people. And so it's like you have more ammunition, more things you can share with them that will help them, understand something different. Like, when I was a kid, there was a point when I was in school, I was one of 2 Black children in the entire school. I was 10 years old in the 4th grade. Let me show you my 4th grade picture. See if you can find me. You see? Okay. So yeah, that's me right there. Okay. That was my class. That was the first time. This is 1968. That's the first time any of these white children ever interacted with a Black person. Okay. So that was different for me. That was different for them. But I had to know who I was in order to assimilate and for them to accept me. I had to be credible. I had to be honest,
So how it actually influenced you that you were a kid of a US diplomat and, in your childhood, you spent abroad traveling all around the world? Because you mentioned in a couple of your interviews that by age 10, you never actually even thought about the concept of racism. Right.
Because, when I was a child and I lived, how the US State Department works, because I grew up, my parents were were American embassy. So you go to a country for 2 years, and then you come back home here to the States for a few months. You go to another country for 2 years, back and forth, back and forth. Well, when I was in school overseas in the early 1960s, my classmates, they were from Japan, France, Germany, Russia, Sweden, back then Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia. Okay, these were my classmates. Now, we all looked different. We all spoke different languages. We worshiped differently. But you know what? We all played together. We worked together. We had parties together. We were little children. We didn't care what color or religion you were. All we cared about, can we play together? Can we work together? We got along. We laughed together. And so that was my first exposure to school with people from all over the world. These were my friends. To me, this was normal. And then when I come back home to my own country, this is what I came back home to. This is not normal. Okay, this is not normal. So that had to change. And some people had a problem with me because I was different. And as in some of my stories, which I'm sure some of you have heard before from the previous lectures I've done, at that same age, of age 10, some people threw rocks and bottles at me when I was in a parade. And but so that was
in USA, right? That wasn't
in the USA, in my own country, my own people.
That must have been quite shocking that after you actually come back, what you thought is your home, your safe place, the reaction was different. So I wonder.
And that's why I do this work today. Exactly.
So I wonder what your parents think of your hobby and how actually also witnessing diplomatic approach influenced you in your sort of endeavor.
Okay, well, my mother had already passed away before I got involved in all this. My father, of course, he was concerned for my safety, but he knew, what I was doing, and he was supportive, very supportive of me, because my mother and father, they raised me, and they were diplomats, and so when we lived in different countries, those were different cultures. It may not have been the same culture as American culture, but you learn to respect and you learn how to get along with other cultures. So that's what diplomats do. Their job as a diplomat is to go to another country and create better relationships between the foreign country and your home country. That's the job of a diplomat. So I was around that for years as a child. I would see that, how my father interacted with the people from Japan, from, Nigeria, from wherever. And that absorbed into me. So when I come home and I see neo-Nazis and Ku Klux Klan people and other white supremacists and racists, I just think of them as another culture. And I apply those principles. And they don't work overnight. They work over time. And so you must always be patient. You must be patient. I'm not saying you have to bend over and kiss their feet. No, not at all. Not at all. You identify who you are and what you believe. But you say, I want to understand from you why you believe this. I'm willing to hear you. And I want you to be honest with me. And they appreciate that.
And can you say also how long this process takes? Like in like general, I know everyone is different, but from the research, the positions and attitudes change really after a long time. It's not possible to do it during one session. So in your own experience, how long does it usually take?
Well, the one session, what happens is you plant the seed. The seed is planted, okay? But in order for the seed to grow, you must come back and pour water on it. You must water and nurture the seed, okay? So it's like, planting a flower or planting a tree. It takes time for it to grow up out of the ground. Yes, you're right. It's not overnight. There is no set time, like, okay, it's going to happen in 1 week. It may be months. It may be weeks. It may be even years. And it depends upon how ingrained, how saturated the individual is. If it's somebody where it's something like my grandfather was in the KKK, or my grandfather was a Nazi, and my father was a Nazi, and I'm a Nazi, and my kids are going to be Nazis. So if it's a family tradition, it's very strong. It may take a longer time because it's you don't want to break a family tradition. If it's you were not a Nazi, you were not born into a Nazi family, and you moved to another town, and this town had a lot of Nazis, and the people you work with are Nazis, the people you're in your school are Nazis, the people on your bowling team or your soccer team are Nazis, and then you become a Nazi. It may take less time because it's not a family tradition that you're breaking. So it depends upon how you came in, can determine how long you go, and also what rank are you? If you are a leader in the KKK or a leader in the Nazi movement, you have a lot of power. You have a lot of power within your movement. People look up to you. People respect you. People listen to you. Everybody likes power, and when you sit on the throne of power, you don't want to get off. You look at our last president here in this country. He was only on the throne of power for 4 years. He thinks he's still president, so, people don't want to give up the power. All right. So you have to consider that. So
whether you would consider him ignorant or stupid, like in this.
I would consider him shrewdly stupid.
Okay, I'm glad I didn't have to say that.
I'm happy to say it for you. But I'll tell you though, I've always said this. I played for him a long time ago as a musician. He put on some event, and I was part of the entertainment. But I did not support him politically, and I will not support him politically. But I think he was a terrible, terrible president, one of the worst. However, I think he is the best thing that happened to this country. Now, I know some people out there saying, "What? How can he say that? What's wrong with him?" Let me explain to you. This country has had a large, worse than the COVID-19. The biggest pandemic in this country is racism, is inequality of how we treat people, all right? Whether it's minorities like Blacks, whether it's minorities like women, whether it's minorities like people who are non-Christian or people with disabilities. This country has a lot of discrimination in it. It's a great country. Don't get me wrong. I love my country. It's a great country, but we do have problems. And oftentimes we do not address those problems properly. We turn a blind eye so we don't see them. If we don't see them, then they don't exist. Well, with Donald Trump, You couldn't help but see it. He put it right in your face. And so now you have to address it and correct it. We have been reactive for too long, and now we need to be more proactive. So that's why I say he is the best thing that has happened, because this racism thing has been going on in this country for 400 years. It's time now to stop.
Thank you for those powerful words. I don't want to change the subject too much, but I also want to touch upon something that I think many people can relate also that are watching us. That now the most common conflict actually that people sometimes find themselves is really with people who have anti-vaccine biases, so-called anti-vaxxers. So do you think the same principles of listening and not attacking the person and just really being in that accepting mode helps also to talk to anti-vaxxers? Like, do you have any experience really, because COVID-19 really spurred like different kinds of conflicts? We don't talk about far-right ideology, but we talk about really medicine and about different facts in medicine. So how would you, what would be your recommendation?
Okay, my recommendation would be this. Yes, these principles that I apply with racist people, yes, absolutely. They apply universally to all controversial, all adversarial situations. First thing you want to do is you want to identify the type of racist this is. Is this a Nazi? Is it a Klansman? Is it a white supremacist? Is it a white separatist? Is it a white nationalist? You know, there are little nuances that are different. Even with the anti-vaxxers, all right? Why are they an anti-vaxxer? Is it because, you know, anti-vaxxers existed long before Corona, all right? You know, there have been people who don't get the flu shot. They don't get, you know, the measles or whatever shot because they don't believe in vaccines. You know, this goes back for, you know, long before coronavirus or COVID-19. So are they one of these people, or are they one of these people who just came now because of political reasons? Donald Trump said, don't get the vaccine, or Joe Biden said, get it, you know, and I'm a Republican, or I'm a Democrat, so I'm, you know, whatever. If it's a political thing, you know, which is stupid, you know, we're talking about our health. Politics should not play into one's health. If you have other reasons, they're religious reasons, or they're your natural organic reasons or whatever, you must understand what is the source of the person's reason for not taking the vaccine, or the person's reason for taking the vaccine. It's like abortion. You know, some people believe nobody should be aborted. Other people believe, yes, if I want an abortion, it's my body, I should be able to do whatever I want to do. And then there are those who believe, well, you shouldn't have an abortion after 6 weeks, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So you have to understand where their basis is, and then you address it from there, because you can't put all anti-vaxxers in the same group.
Thank you for this. I think I will read some of the questions that our audience submitted on Facebook, just to make sure we will answer them. Hi, Daryl. In the USA, you are known as a musician. How are you perceived by the US public concerning your dialogues with KKK members? How the KKK people perceive you? Do you happen to get threatened by them? Thank you for being with us today.
Okay, good question. Thank you for the question. I have all kinds of people. I have people who support me. I have people who think that I'm crazy and they don't support me. And it depends again, you know, now if they're my friends, what do my friends think? My friends already know that I'm crazy, so it's okay, you know. But people who don't know me, they think I'm absolutely crazy, I'm wrong. And then there are people who say, wow, you know, this is really interesting. This man is thinking outside the box. You know, we need new techniques, you know, to approach these things. You know, this is very interesting, and I support him. So it's all around the, you know, the circle of opinion. But we must remember this: anytime you do something that is not the norm, people are going to attack you because you are different. You've broken the norm. Let me go back to somebody that everybody knows here: Copernicus, the ancient astronomer, Copernicus.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Way back, everybody on Earth thought because we're egotists, right? We're narcissistic as human beings. We thought that we, human beings, the earth, was the center of the universe. And all the planets and the sun all revolved around the earth. We were the supremacists. Copernicus, the astronomer, he said, no, the earth revolves around the sun. The sun is the center of the universe. And they called him crazy. They called him a heretic. And they put him in jail. They put him in prison for saying this. And guess what? He was right. The sun is the center of the universe and the earth revolves around the sun. Galileo said the same thing and they called him crazy. But so, you know, whatever.
You don't take it personally when someone
no.
calls you recall all these heroes from the past.
Because you know what? I've been to a Klan rally. I've been to a neo-Nazi rally. I've sat down with these people. So their opinions do not outweigh my experience. They're giving opinion. I'm giving experience. Now, when you go to a Klan rally and you sit down with neo-Nazis and KKK people and whatever else, then you tell me something, it has more weight. But you just watch TV and you see this and somebody told you that and somebody else told you this, and now you're going to tell it to me as fact and you've never been there and I've been there? No.
I must say, we talked about this a little bit, that preaching to the choir or like organizing discussions with people who agree with each other, that sometimes that's not the most really effective tool, how to really change opinions.
Initially, you want to preach to the choir. Okay, so, you know, let's say there's a problem let's just hypothetically, let's say there's a problem in Bratislava with a certain group of people, all right? And so you say, you know, this is really bad. This is a very bad situation. Those people are terrible people. You know, they're neo-Nazis, they're whatever they are, all right? And so you invite people who think like you and say, you know, let's make a committee. And the third Monday of every month, we're gonna meet. And so the third Monday of every month, everybody who thinks like you, they all come together in this meeting place and you talk about how bad those people are. Okay, well, that's good. Initially, that's good because you want people who think like you to come together. But if this goes on and on, right, if this goes on and on and on, what are you doing? You're not solving the problem. It does me no good to tell you how bad something is if you already know it. So then what you got to do is to say, okay, we all agree on this. We all agree it's bad. Now, let's take it a step further. I know where one of those people lives. So let's write him a letter or let's go knock on his door and invite him to our meeting and let him talk. Let him tell us why he feels this way about us. Why does he discriminate against us? Let's invite him and let's listen to him, because you will learn more when you listen to somebody who doesn't like you. And it's okay. You know who you are. You know, they're not going to change you. Listen to them, and then you will have the information that you need to address. Maybe he doesn't like you because he's afraid of something. And then once he identifies it, you say, oh, you know, that's crazy. You know, I know how to solve that. So the more he talks, the more information you have, the more you're being educated how to address his fear. And that's what we do.
And out of curiosity, do you recall also conversation that turned really bad, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, I've been doing this for 40 years, almost 40 years. Not everybody is going to talk to you. Some people are going to say, no, I don't want to talk to you. Get out of here, you know, and they walk away or you walk away, whatever. That does happen. There's some people who just do not want to talk to you. And then there are other people who see you, they don't like you, and they want to fight you. I've had that happen too. So unfortunately, I've had to engage in violence from time to time. It happens, but that's to be expected. You're dealing with somebody who hates you, not just hates you mildly, but they join an organization that practices hating. So that's very, very strong. And they want to fight. They want to engage in violence. They want to stamp you out. So I've had to fight. Fortunately, it's only been a few times, which is good, but that can happen. So, you know, be of the mindset that, yes, you know, you're entering a dangerous situation, especially if you're dealing with people who don't like you, all right? Not people who don't like a certain thing. You know, they don't like, you know, nobody's going to attack you because, you know, you prefer this color and they prefer that color, or you like Prince and that person likes Michael Jackson. You know, nobody's going to, you know, hit you because of that. But when you're dealing with hate, it's a whole different situation. And so you must be prepared. If somebody is going to be violent, what are you going to do? If you can't fight, then you need to back away. And
these kind of experiences, it never discouraged you from going back and doing this job?
No, never discouraged me, because I've had many more experiences where people have left. Let me take 30 seconds and show you something. And I want everybody to watch this. I'm going to show you a Klan rally. It's about 30 seconds long. And you're going to see the Klan leader. He's what's known as an imperial wizard. He's wearing a white robe with a blue cape and blue stripes and blue belt, right? The Grand Dragon, an imperial wizard is a national leader. He oversees the country. The Grand Dragon is what's called a state leader. He only oversees the state, territory. And he's wearing a white robe with a green cape and green stripes. So I want you to listen to what you hear here in this rally. But first, let me just show you a couple pictures here. This is taken 29 years ago at a Klan rally. So you see I'm a lot younger there, and you see the cross in the background is towards the end of the rally. It's on fire, but the fire is going out. This is almost 7 years ago in another state, again, towards the end of a Klan rally. There were more people there, but they're off to the side. And what do I do at these things? Like I said, I engage in dialogue, because I believe that dialogue, a missed opportunity for dialogue, is a missed opportunity for conflict resolution. So here I am at one of these rallies talking with the people. Wow. All right. Now, this guy right here that you see facing me with the green cross on his face, when I came there, he threatened me. And ever since then, I get a Christmas present every year from this guy. Okay. This
now
guy.
You're friends? Are you friends?
Yeah. And he's no longer in the organization. Okay. Now, let me show you this rally. Listen to what the Klan leader has to say.
Davis is one of the few African Americans you will ever find attending a KKK rally. More than attending, he is welcome.
I got more respect for that black man than I do you white niggers out there.
Has friendship transcended the color barrier? Listen to Kelly at a Klan rally.
I will follow that man to hell and back, because I believe in what he stands for and he believes in what I stand for. A lot of times we don't agree with everything, but at least he respects me to sit down and listen to me. And I'll respect him to sit down and listen to him.
The strange relationship of a KKK wizard and his black buddy. In Washington, I'm Carl Rochelle, CNN Sunday Morning.
Okay, now, you heard the Klan leader, the national Klan leader, Imperial Wizard, Roger Kelly, in the white robe with the blue stripes. The first guy you saw talking to me had on the green. He's a Grand Dragon. Okay, you heard Roger Kelly say that we may not agree on everything, but at least he respects me to sit down and listen to me, and I respect him to sit down and listen to him. That's what he said, the Klan leader. He named 3 of those 5 principles that I gave you. He said, I respected him. That's 1. He said, I listened to him, which means I allowed him to be heard. And he said, because I sat down and I respected him and I sat down and listened to him, that he respected me and sat down and listened to me. That's what he said. He named 3, respect, being heard, and being treated fair. I treated him fairly. He sat down and listened to me. He treated me fairly. As a result, this is living proof right now, right here. As a result of my applying 3 of those 5 principles over time, that man who led the Klan, he quit the Ku Klux Klan and renounced it. He no longer believes in that. And when he left the Klan, he gave me his robe and hood. This is the same one that you saw him wearing in the video. And
how many of these robes do you have? You have to have like full closet now.
Oh, I have plenty. And this is the other guy you first saw talking to me. Okay. And of course, this is the hood.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice.
So
good job. But we could see also from the video that the audience wasn't happy with his statement that he has more respect for you than for the, I think he used expression white nigga, which was really weird. And
well,
sort of,
the people in the audience.
Yes, in the audience, they're not happy what he was saying.
Because they didn't understand what I was doing. But guess what? How many robes and hoods do they have? They have nothing, because they come there and yell and scream and want to fight. Okay, we can't do that on our side. They should not do it on their side. Now, if you look here, here is a picture here. As you see right there, those are those two robes there. Now, here is a partial collection, because I keep most stuff locked up outside of my house. But here's some of the stuff that I have. Wow. You see a swastika flag, a Klan flag, all these different robes in the back, etc. So that's just a few. Like I said, I've been doing it for a long time. And I'm telling you, these principles work. Now, will it change everybody? No, okay? There will always be some people who will die. They will go to their grave being hateful and violent and racist. There's no changing them. But you don't give up on them. You prioritize. You know, you put them at the bottom of the list and you work your way down. And
we have 10 more minutes. And I would like to read another question, which is actually pretty relating to this, because someone is asking whether we can actually make things worse by attempting a similar dialogue. So let me read the whole question. Do you think what you would be doable for anyone motivated enough, or do you think there is a possibility to make things worse by attempting a similar dialogue without sufficient expertise or emotional intelligence?
You know, I mean, it's a very good question, but I always say, be prepared. Always try to have emotional intelligence, have some degree of expertise. But most important, okay, when you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the expertise, or you don't have the emotional intelligence, be yourself. Be trustworthy. Everybody can apply those 5 principles. And that, you know, that is for the person who does not have expertise, who does not have emotional intelligence or what have you. Apply those principles. They're universal, okay? And then the more you do this, the more expertise you will acquire, the more emotional intelligence you will acquire, all right? But start with these 5 principles, because, I mean, there are places in, you know, yes, listen, I have been to 61 countries. There are 195 countries on this planet right now. Now, ironically, about 4 months ago, last summer, I met 2 people within 1 week. One guy was an American, which is very rare, and the other guy was from Estonia. The American guy had been to 125 countries. You know, most Americans, which I say is very rare, because most Americans do not travel. You know, Europeans, they travel all the time, always traveling somewhere. And then this guy from Estonia, he'd been to 165 countries. I've only been to 61, so I'm behind, right? But so there are plenty of places that I've not been to. But if I go somewhere where I've never been, I'm going to apply those 5 principles. And that will allow me to be accepted, to be respected, and to learn, and to get that expertise on that country, to get that emotional intelligence by applying those values to the culture surrounding me. And so even if you don't have psychological or sociological expertise or training or that emotional intelligence, apply those principles, because we all can do that. That's a start.
And do you think it's also important not to show fear in those encounters, or that doesn't play a role?
Ironically, you know, I've never been afraid of those people, because I just consider them a different culture. Now, if you fear something, then don't go. Don't go, because fear can make you do things, you know, that may not be good for you. You might be in more danger, you know, if you show fear. It's like a dog. You know, a dog starts, you know, barking at you and you show fear and you run, the dog's going to chase you, right? So, you know, you got to be cool. You know, you got to know who you are, know what you're getting into. There have been some situations that, you know, that a lot of people will be very fearful. I don't have that. Maybe because I've been doing it for so long, I don't know. But I'll tell you something else too, that I think is very important. Because I was exposed to many different cultures around the world, at a very young age. I think that has enabled me to view these people as another culture, and I deal with them on that aspect. Now, perhaps if I had grown up my whole life here in the US and I never traveled, I was never exposed to other people, would I be doing this work today? Maybe not, maybe not. You know, maybe I would have that fear. But I think because of my upbringing and my exposure, that's why I have less fear than most people would have. But I can tell you something though. I would rather see somebody in one of these things. I'd rather see somebody coming down the street in a Klan robe and a hood, because I know what that man is thinking, rather than see somebody in a suit and tie or a police uniform with a badge and a gun. I know what he is supposed to be thinking, but I don't know what he is thinking. This identifies your ideology. So, you know, when I see you in your robe and hood, I know you don't like me. And so I can deal with you on that basis. But when you pull me over in the middle of the night on a dark street, and the lights go on, you know, in my rear view mirror, the police are pulling me over, I don't know. Am I going to get home tonight? Or am I going to be shot? Am I going to be beaten? Because that happens too often in this country.
When I'm listening to you, really in your strategy and everything, and your experience, I actually wonder how many of your friends are former neo-Nazis, and what's like the friendship circle right now? Like, because you've been telling stories also to media about going to the weddings of your of neo-Nazis. So tell us something about who are your friends right now?
I have a lot of friends. Listen, let me tell you something. When you, like, I'm gonna tell this to you too, because now you and I are friends. When you make friends with me, you have a friend for life, okay? You know, I don't care what your background is. You know, when you make friends with me, I'll be your friend for life. You know, until somebody, you know, messes me over, stabs me in the back, something like that. But, you know, I want to be treated the same way everybody else wants to be treated. So, you know, you give up your past, I will support you.
And what would you say is now your main profession? Is it a musician or is it really interventionist?
It's beginning to become the non-musician, right? But you know, music will always play a role in my life because music brings people together. All right. Let's say, for example, I mean, yes, you know, I play a lot. I did this full time, and now I'm speaking a lot. I'm writing books on this. I'm dealing with white supremacists, and that is becoming full time. So I still play, but this is becoming more and more because this is very much needed in this country. But music will always play a role. Music is the great uniter. For example, let's say Friday night, I don't have a gig. I'm not performing. So now I want to go out. I want to be entertained rather than be the entertainer. So I go to the bar down the street. They have a dance floor. Maybe they have a DJ or live band. I want to go, I want to dance. So I go. And there's music playing, and it's a good song, and I want to dance. And people are on the dance floor. So I look around to see if I see a single woman, you know, who's not attached to somebody, and so I will ask her to dance. So I see you sitting at the bar by yourself, and I don't know you, but you're patting your hand on the bar in time to the music. So obviously you like that song. So I walk over to you, and like I said, I don't know you, and I say, hey, would you like to dance? And you say, yeah. And you come off the bar stool, and we walk out on the floor, and we're dancing. Now, if it's a slow song, you and I are dancing like this. If it's a fast song, we're apart and we're, shaking, whatever. And then I don't even know you. And at the end of the song, I walk you back to your seat at the bar. And I say, thank you for the dance. I say, my name is DARYL. And you say, my name is Natalia. And I say, so what do you do, Natalia? And you say, oh, I'm the vice president of Microsoft in Bratislava. And what do you do, DARYL? And I say, oh, I'm a cashier at the McDonald's hamburger. Well, you're making $250,000 per year. I'm only making maybe $10,000 a year. Where would two people that far apart come this close? And they don't even know each other. Music does that, because music is universal. It transcends all cultures, all barriers, all races, all socioeconomic statuses. I wouldn't even meet you in my normal life as a cashier at McDonald's, and you're the vice president of Microsoft.
So do you go to also neo-Nazi concerts? Or
I've been to some, yeah.
Okay. So unfortunately, we are approaching the end, and I still want to give you opportunity to say what is the main thing that you want people to take from this discussion? If there's like 3 things they should remember, what are these things?
Okay. What I would like people to do is this. Listen, don't leave this interview with Natalia and I and run out and go to a neo-Nazi rally or go to a Klan rally. Okay, don't do that, please. Okay, unless you have some previous experience, or talk to me first. But what I want you to do is this: take the opportunity next time you're at lunch, in the cafeteria where you work or in your school, because what I notice is people in cities that have diversity, at corporations or colleges, there are people who are diverse, and they may work together in their classroom on their project, or in their office on their project. They might even share the same desk, whatever. But what happens at 12 noon? Everybody goes downstairs to the cafeteria, and the Black people sit with the Black people. The Hispanic people sit with the Hispanic people. This group sits with this group. They self-segregate. Does that mean that they are racist? No, not at all. People tend to feel more comfortable if they're around something that they are familiar with. All right, and that's okay. Now, if you try to go sit at somebody else's table and they say, no, get out of here, we don't want you at our table, then yes, that's a problem, and it needs to be addressed. But what I say is this: once or twice a week, leave your comfort group at your lunch table and walk across the cafeteria and sit with somebody else's group. Okay, because you have a lot to learn from them, and you have a lot to teach them. And guess what? You will make a new friend. It's a very simple process. Just get up twice a week, walk across the cafeteria, and sit with somebody else. Okay, if I can walk into a KKK rally and a neo-Nazi rally, you can walk across the cafeteria. You can walk across the dinner table, because I know people who won't even have dinner with their own family because my brother voted for this person, I voted for that person. I don't want to talk to him anymore. Families are breaking up, friendships are breaking up over stupid stuff. This is trivial. Have these conversations. I'm just a rock and roll piano player. If I can walk to a Klan rally and talk to somebody there, you can talk to somebody at the dinner table. It's less dangerous. You can walk across your cafeteria. It's less dangerous, and you will make a new friend. Start with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daryl. Those were really powerful words. Really, I think that audience is really taking away that we should talk to people who have different opinions, and if it's people we don't agree with. And I 100% agree with this. So thank you very much for having us today and talking to us and explaining your methodology. It was really inspiring. And I always, when I listen to your talks, I always learn something new. So thank you very much. And I would like to also thank again U.S. Embassy in Bratislava and Socrates Institute for supporting this discussion. And please don't forget that Socrates Institute has open call for applications. You can apply for the study program, and it's really great opportunity. So please don't hesitate. And thank you very much again for watching us.
Thank you.
Thank you.